pronounce the name of this Canadian major junior ice hockey player? In French or Canadian French, his name would be pronounced as Alexis. Yes, the S to Alexis in French is silent, so do not pronounce it. Alexis Lafrenière. Alexis Lafrenière. In English, however, it'd be fine to say Alexis Lafrenière. Alexis Lafrenière. Here are many more videos on how to pronounce celebrity names. Who's pronounced?
So there's no other introduction needed. If you watched part one, you heard us go all doom and gloom with the Rangers. But then just a couple days later, that lucky ping pong ball came up, the most legit draft lottery I've ever seen in my life, with every logo confirmed and every ping pong ball dropped in. And the Rangers ball got up top, which means the New York Rangers will pick first in the upcoming draft to hopefully select Alexis Lafrenière.
Bienvenue, mes amis. Huh? I had other stuff written out here, but I don't know how to pronounce it. So
yeah.
Holy fucking Santa Claus shit. I literally cannot say anything else other than that, because the whole outlook. Si it's une grande ville. I don't think I pronounced that right. The whole outlook on them as a team completely 180, because I was just so depressed and like, oh my God, where do they go from here? And then a lucky ping pong ball absolutely just changed the Rangers' fortune. And I'm just going to get this out in the open now, and I've been waiting to say this for a long time. If you want them to trade that pick, go fuck yourself and click on another goddamn video, because you're too stupid to insult. Too stupid.
I'm gonna make the title clickbait, and I'm gonna say trade the first pick ? LOL.
No, because I don't even want to be wrapped up in that, because that's just it's so stupid. So the New York Rangers are more likely with the first overall pick than Alexis Lafrenière, or however you would pronounce it.
There was something at the end of there, Lafrenière.
Yeah, there seemed like a stroke out there at the
Yeah.
end. So
listen, that aside, the Rangers are drafting. Then yes, sure, the Rangers could use some center depth. But who gives a shit what position the guy plays? He's been a goal scorer his entire life. In his let's see. So you figure born in 2001. So when he's 16 years old, he puts up 42 goals and 38 assists for 80 points in 60 games in the QMJHL. The following season, 37 goals, 68 assists, 105 points in 61 games. And then this past season, 35 goals, 77 assists, 112 points in just 52 games. Like, you can't do much more than that, and the kid's like barely able to drive a car. Like, I'm not old enough to drink, even in Canada.
Let me just go and just come out and say it. I could not be more excited. I mean, last year when the Rangers looked into Kako, I was excited, and I was very excited, because I don't think I've ever seen anything like that with the Rangers in a lifetime. And you were getting a draft of one of the two top players, and now though you are going to get the clear-cut player. And I don't love when everybody says generational talent, but I mean, man,
it's a potential, man.
It's pretty damn close, man.
It's as close as you're getting.
He might not be a McDavid, but man, if we get an Eichel, I got no issue with that, man. I really don't. And I've been doing nothing but watching Alexis Lafrenière highlight tapes, and holy shit, it's not just one thing. It's not just one thing, because his playmaking ability is the thing that I think is above and beyond. But he scores from everywhere. He quarterbacks the power play, and he plays grit. He hits, everything. And I mean, I haven't watched any of his film at his own end as in like a defensive forward, but I don't think he's a slouch either. I mean, so let me ask you, Bruce. I mean, is there something you're most excited about with him, or is it just like all of it?
It's just the overall talent, and I feel like year after year, granted, the Rangers have had, a little bit of success in most recent years, but they've never had, and they've had the first pick once ever, but that wasn't even like legitimate draft. You were essentially picking leftovers how many years ago?
1965,
right,
I believe.
Exactly. But this is the first time. But it's not so much that they're getting the chance to draft this. It's that you look in the past and you look at Pittsburgh, when they were bad, look who they got to draft, look where it got them. Look at the Capitals, they were bad, they were able to get Ovechkin, look where it got them. You look at a team like the Blackhawks, they were able to draft Taves, they were able to draft Kane, look where it got them. When you have a chance to get top picks like this in a short span, like the Rangers do now with Kakko last year, and now assuming nothing stupid happens, Lafreniere this year, it's just you can't. And listen, obviously there's a chance the guy could bust, but when you have the chance to get something like this, come on, man. This is the most to get excited about. What else were we going to get excited about? What, the 10th overall pick?
No, I think especially too with a team like the Rangers that's so cap stricken for this year because of their contract.
You're adding a potential top 6 forward for
that entry level contract is almost as valuable as the player itself for now, obviously. But
right. No, but for 3 years, it's you can't.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, take the name and the draft status around $925,000 for a guy that might end up as a top 6 forward is incredible.
Yeah, and I mean, let me ask you this, Al. Before this, did you think they had any chance to get this pick? Because I'll be honest with you, I almost didn't watch the lottery. I mean, for me, I was just like, well, and then I kind of at the last minute was like, okay. And then when they watched it, I almost tore my house down because it was the best, one of the best things I've ever seen in my entire life.
I more watched it because I was hoping that a team like Pittsburgh wasn't going to get the pick or Toronto or something. I was just saying, all right, please just be like Minnesota or something that's not going to bother me,
Yeah,
But, I just – it was incredible. As soon as I saw it in the thing, I was like, no way. I jumped up. I ran up right in front of the TV to look as close as possible.
The entire time, leading up to you knew, all right, well, this placeholder team has the first pick. You're like, well, all right, that's kind of weird, but whatever. It's the NHL draft lottery.
I know at the time I'm like, that's kind of stupid.
Right, and then it was
then it wasn't stupid.
Right, but then we were like, oh well, Montreal is going to get their shit kicked in by Pittsburgh, and they're gonna rig this so Montreal gets it because the kid
draft was gonna be in Montreal,
right? And the kid from Quebec is gonna go to the Montreal Canadiens. Come on, it had storybook written all over it. So I kind of blew it off, and then they won. I'm like, oh, but Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh, Edmonton, Toronto, come on, they're gonna hand. And then I'm like, all right, fine, I'll bite. Let me watch. And when the ping pong balls were going around, honestly, I was extreme. There was that moment of damn it, I'm getting into this and I'm gonna get let down.
Oh yeah, I had the butterflies, man. How could you not? I mean, it's all chance at that point. And I mean, I'm not a gambler, but when they sucked that ball up there, bro, I saw that little sliver of red and I just went ballistic.
Yeah.
And then it caught little story aside. My father was coming here to help me out with something with my car, and he's watched hockey since Bobby Orr, back then. So he's had a lot of people to remember. And he walked in the door and I was like, yes. And he's like, what happened? What happened? And I'm like, the Rangers won the lottery. He's like, okay. I was like, they're going to draft Lafreniere. And he's like, who? I was like, oh man. But dude, I could not be more excited. And the thing with him is he just I am such a firm believer a player has it. And I put, for better or for worse, way too much emphasis on how a player plays in the World Juniors. And he was by far the best player on a very good Canada team and just made.
Did you already captain the Canada team in the juniors?
Yeah.
No, I want to say Barrett Hayton did. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
I thought he did.
I know for a fact he didn't.
Either way.
He did at the U17s and U18s, but not at the U20s.
Okay, that's
okay. Either way,
but still, I mean, he was the captain of Oceanic, and so there is that leadership quality there. And
yeah.
Let me just say this. Let's instead of us gushing over Lafreniere, because I mean, because I could do that all day if we want to. I don't know what the time limit is on this, but I could totally do it. Moving into the off season, I think this changes so much, and I can't understate that, because now especially you're going to have JD in his first off season with the Rangers, and I think he's really going to put his fingerprint on this team, because last year I don't think he did a ton, but if you look at the two teams he's built in St. Louis and in Columbus, what do those two teams have in common? They're both heavy teams that put well and defend well. And I don't think the Rangers are either one of those things right now. And obviously you have the top end talent, which is weird because you're almost doing this backwards. And, whatever Lafreniere becomes and whatever Kakko becomes, they have Panarin and they have Zibanejad in the prime of their careers right now. I know that they have a lot of prospects as well. And let's not forget that they still, I believe it can be no worse than the 24th pick now because Carolina just lost today. So
yeah.
Let me ask Al, I'm going to go you. Which prospects, other than Lafreniere, do you think you're most excited for coming to this team?
Oh, that's a tough question. You say prospects, but I'll try to single it down to one, not to take up too much time here. If I really had to choose one, I think now with this number 1 overall pick and getting Lafreniere, I would like to see Kravtsov come over and now have no pressure on him at all. Not only just having Kakko already, but having Lafreniere also on a wing. So Kravtsov is just he doesn't even have to have this monster upside, but I just want to see him play for this team. He was the what number? Ninth? Yeah. I couldn't remember if 9th or 7th, but that was Anderson. It was 7th.
We were at the draft party.
We were. And I remember that. And as soon as they drafted him, people were like, Russian?
Yeah, because we all wanted Oliver Wahlstrom, and that didn't turn out that way.
But no, I'm excited to see what he has and hopefully make this team and be able to, always to be as a third liner this upcoming year. So
I think the thing which is maybe not being talked about too much in that vein of Kravtsov is that he's a right winger, and
that's huge.
And the Rangers kind of need that.
Yep.
I think you're going to see this year. You're going to see Lafreniere, Hedl, and probably Kravtsov line. Which if that's your third line, my opinions of Hedl aside, hopefully maybe he kind of gets to where he wants to go, but. You have that guy like Lafreniere who's a great playmaker, and then you have Kravtsov, by all accounts, is just a finisher. And I think that's going to be something to really look forward in the future. And let me ask you, Bruce, the same question. If it's Kravtsov as well, you can say Kravtsov as well. But if somebody else, feel free.
I think it is, it is. I think he's probably the most NHL ready forward. I think that's in this system right now. It's probably Kravtsov for sure. So honestly, for me, I don't think Niles Lundqvist is going to be over just yet, but I think
he already has said he's staying in Sweden next year.
Right. So he's at least a year away. So then for me, it's probably K'Andre Miller, because I know we've texted about how you go out. I know he didn't play well in the juniors, but from all accounts, just from the training camp, I know JD on when he's done his interviews has said that he loved what Miller did for the short time he was with the team in camp before they went to the bubble. So, and because of how bad the team is defensively, anybody that can step up and make some kind of impact, I'm looking forward to. Maybe Miller's not it, but I'd rather see him than like Mark Stahl again, because I think I can't take another full season of Brandon Smith and Mark Stahl just kind of like trotting around. Like, it's at some point you need why, especially last year, their contracts, buy one of them out. I know it's easy for me to sit here and say that.
I don't want to see any buyouts. You can kick, especially now that they have Lafreniere and they can kick the can down the road another year. So I'll just say for me personally,
even if you eat the money and they sit in the press box a healthy scratch, I'd rather
it's just I'd
rather see that, because I don't want to see anything stupid for 1 year. So like I said, you can kick the can down the road a little bit. For me with Miller, I think he got not hampered, but that Wisconsin team was not good, and they had so much talent with Cole Caulfield, what's his name, Turcotte, and then Holloway. He's going to be a first-round pick in this draft too. And Miller, it didn't work out, and I just think they had issues on that team. But now I think now that he's going to be in a professional organization, I think he's actually going to be turn around a little bit, or at least I hope. And then even still, they have other than Lundqvist, they have that Runanen kid who's supposed to be pretty good coming over for Finland. Who I don't know a ton about.
Is he going to come over? Or you don't know?
I'm not too sure. I'd be honest with you. He's probably the guy out of their core group that I know the least about. But for me, I'm not trying to be like the prospect hipster here, like Lucia Bantha likes to be so much. Morgan Barron for me is somebody that I have really looked forward to seeing. And who knows? He's not like this highly touted prospect like a Kravtsov or a Miller is, but I've actually seen him play in college, Cornell, in the tournament for Cornell against Northeastern and when he was the best player on the ice by a long shot, and going against what's his name, the kid Madden, that was a Vancouver first round pick, and against the goalie in Caden Primo, who's a Montreal pick, and a Northeastern. And I just think he's kind of what they need, because he is a big bodied center who, by all accounts, can do everything pretty well. I mean, he skates very well. He's got a great shot on the power play from what I remember seeing. And he's just that physical kind of power forward that I think, especially that he's a center, I think that could be invaluable for like a third line type of guy.
Probably be a fourth line next year, maybe, if he
or whatever. We'll see. I mean, even a year in Hartford with him would probably do him well. Who knows? Right. But he's somebody I'm looking forward to seeing. But like you said, the two guys you mentioned, especially Kravtsov, is somebody that I genuinely really am looking forward to. But so let's go here, and I think you, Al, touched on it last one. Is there's that big question now, because there's a lot of people to sign, because I believe it's Fost, Lemieux, Strome, D'Angelo, and I feel like there's another one I'm not remembering.
But you have let's see, you have Strome as an RFA, Fost as a UFA, Greg McKegg UFA, Phil DiGiuseppe as an RFA, and Tony D'Angelo. And then Georgiev. That's your big decision, really, because you're not going to carry three goalies, so it's kind of
all right. Let me go there, because that's actually what I want to go now. Is the goaltending situation? What do you do? Because JD has said they are going into next year with two goalies, and you also have to remember with Georgiev, they could lose him to the expansion draft. So what do you do? I mean, for me, I don't know, man. I don't think that there's a good answer here. I really don't. What do you think?
I think the Rangers have been very well off with backup goalies during Lundqvist's tenure. Whether it's someone like Cam Talbot or Antti Ranta, where you've been able to trade them for legitimate assets, not just some kick around the league backup goalie that teams sign every year, just someone to sit there that can play a game or two. Like, the Rangers have had legitimate guys who can come in and start 30 games like it's nothing, and you get very similar production. A step back, but very similar production. Which something where, if this guy plays, you're not concerned that we're going to lose this game, 6-5 or something.
I mean, and I think that has a lot to do with Benoit Allaire too, because anybody who's going to be under Benoit Allaire, I trust.
Exactly.
Guys like, what was it? Chad Johnson went on to Buffalo to be, I think, a backup, and then you had obviously Cam Talbot, Andre Pavlich actually came in and probably had the best years in front of him. And I mean, look at Georgiev. Georgiev is a pretty much relatively unknown kid that they've turned into hey, this guy might be a starter now. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't know what the discussions are with Lundqvist if he is going to retire, or I mean, if I'm a professional athlete, I'm not walking away from any money that's on my contract.
Especially $8.5 million.
Exactly.
Yeah, for one more year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know if and I don't think there's a team out there at this point, even if you ate half his contract, that you can trade him to. Like, I don't see it. Like, maybe you get an Edmonton, even if it's for nothing, maybe a team like Edmonton that showed, man, we have really bad goaltending, but I don't know, man. I just don't know if, like, Lundqvist.
I don't think Lundqvist makes a team that much better than what their options are.
Right.
I really don't.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's what I mean. You're grasping at straws trying to find a trade partner. And like I said,
it almost makes it where we'd be giving something up for someone to take half this contract, which I'd rather just not.
Right.
Because I will say this. For me, I don't want to see a buyout, because I believe if they buy him out, it frees up like 5 point something on the cap. Yeah, but then next year you're going to take a hit. Yeah. And you're just, like I said, especially like I mentioned before, now that you have Laf, you can kick the can down the road a little bit. And if that means getting rid of Georgiev and having Hank be the backup, and then, because I do like this kid, Tyler Wall, that they have in the system from UMass Lowell. And like I said, he might not come out to be anything. I think he's a good prospect, though. So Let me go with you, Al. What would you do? What would you like to see, I think, from them? which is basically the same question, just worded differently.
Yeah, it's actually not the same question, because what I'd like them to do is figure out a way to get rid of Lundqvist's money off this team.
Correct.
What I would do is, because I don't think that's realistic, is I think it is to let. Well, is Georgiev an RFA?
He's an RFA.
Yeah.
You could technically trade.
You could trade him
rights.
for something. Yeah,
he has to agree. There's like weird stipulations with that
Yeah.
to trade RFA, right? So you're more than likely.
If you're trading, you're not getting much at all.
You're
either signing
value-
him to trade him, or you're taking him to arbitration. And
I think a sign and trade is not the worst, because I don't think his contract
that's what I would
be
end up
that
doing,
insane.
From a realistic standpoint, and the fact that there actually is some interest in him, assuming
there's definitely a market for him
Edmonton?
more than Hank. Yeah, maybe. I mean, who knows? That worked out well with Talbot.
Talbot's better now.
Yeah, so I think that's the big question looming over. And now I think the second biggest one is the Tony DeAngelo, Ryan Strome thing, because like you said, Al, in the last podcast, if you haven't watched that, you should go watch it. It's probably down there somewhere.
Yeah, episode 5, part 1. It's in here. And subscribe, man.
I was all about signing Tony D, and then that playoff series just left a real bad taste in my mouth. And I thought Strome was pretty good. I don't want to say he was great, but I thought he was pretty good. Now, the thing with Strome is that he has that chemistry with Panarin. And that's something I don't know if I necessarily want to mess with, because you then don't want to then like have it be like this rotating wheel of like, oh yeah, we'll try this guy. You know this works. I mean, and then if you have to adjust in the playoffs or something like that, so be it. I personally, I think what you can do now with both of them, because they're both RFAs, is take them both to arbitration, get them on short-term deals, and then get another year when you have more cap space to see like what you can do. Because don't forget, Tony DeAngelo held out last year for his contract before taking a very team-friendly deal. So that's the thing that I think worries me with DeAngelo. I don't know if any of you guys are worried about that. So, Al, I mean, for you, are you on try to sign both of them on the arbitration deal, sign one of them long-term, sign both of them if you can? What do you think?
I'm honestly not signing them both long-term. I didn't even think about that, trying to get both of them through arbitration, but that's not a bad idea. But my original thought was, even if we don't have someone ready, like Lundqvist saying he's staying in Sweden next year, we still have a potential backup or replacement for DeAngelo, whereas Strome, just out of necessity, we don't have another center to take that spot. Like, okay, you can put Hedl there, but that's a significant downgrade at this point right now until we see more from Hedl. And like you were saying, I don't want to see that chemistry with Panarin messed up.
I don't think you should mess with that. I really don't. Yeah.
So at this point, I think just out of where the team is and what type of players you have in your system and on your roster currently, I think DeAngelo is the one that's more expendable, despite how well he played this season. Also, that's a good point, bringing up that he held out last year, because it's way more likely for him to do it again if he doesn't get a contract he wants. Who knows what they promised him last time. So
yeah, exactly, and that's something that, because there's probably like a lot of handshake agreements. I'll pose it to you, Bruce. I know you're usually the guy of like take the lower kind of like the lower road with the contracts. Do you like the idea of taking them both to arbitration, getting them? Because I think the max they can get on the arbitrary deal is 2 years. I don't think that I mean, it's possible, but do you think that that's something that's beneficial, or would you just rather sign one or sign both or sign neither?
I mean, for me, it's a business. I'm not worried about hurting people's feelings. So
I don't think anybody's worried.
So like, I mean, I know, not hockey. I know some sports always like pander to the players, like, oh, if you hurt their feelings, they might leave. But it's like, the problem with DeAngelo is, and I have to, because I know he's 24. I'm assuming, like, was this year I know it was, he made 925. Was this the first year after his entry level deal? I think.
Yes.
Yeah, he's only 24, so that makes the most sense. Someone like DeAngelo, I wouldn't mind if, and again, I think it would have to be arbitration, but something like a bridge deal, I'm fine with. Give him 2 years and see what he is, and then revisit in 2 years if that's something you can pull off with him for a low amount. Like, again, like money wise, like I don't know what he's asking. Like, he hasn't said I'm looking for X number of dollars, but But I also think someone like Alex said, someone like Strome, you need the center. If this team can't afford to lose another center. And listen, Ryan Strome may very well be the Rangers version of like Tyler Kennedy, where he works on this team, but then if he leaves and goes elsewhere, he might be hot garbage.
Right.
Which he's proven. Everywhere else he's been, this is the most successful he's been in his career.
He was okay with the Islanders for a little bit. He wasn't this successful, but he was all right.
And then he, like you said, playing with Panarin has been the best he's ever looked in his career. So for him, maybe he might be like, hey, I'm more valuable here.
I think one other thing I just wanted to throw in really quick before you go, because mine's going to be short here, is I don't think either of the two of them are difference makers where they deserve a long-term deal, where you have such limited assets or a limited cap, especially with this cap staying flat going into next year. I don't think the two of them are like huge difference makers where either of them deserve a big deal.
I think you could argue that point with Tony DeAngelo just because of the season he had, but that at the same time too is the outlier and not the rule with him.
I also think though Adam Fox also plays on the right side,
right, which is
a better version of him,
Which my point, I guess, what I would make is that I would take both of them to arbitration and see if we get them on a year two. This way you can have the flexibility of the year after. With me, the thing with DeAngelo is you have Fox, who could also be a power play quarterback. And let's be honest, that power play 1 runs through Panarin. It doesn't run through DeAngelo. And then on 2, you put Trouba, because that's what Trouba did with the Jets. He was their power play 1 guy. So I think that, for me, I don't want to have a guy like Fox and DeAngelo who do the same thing. It's tough to let all those points walk out the door. Because you don't know what Lundqvist is, or you don't know what Miller is, it is tough. But what we do know is Tony DeAngelo is a very talented offensive defenseman. It just isn't great in his own end. But then you have a guy like Fox who, like you said, is a better version of that. So personally, kick the can down the road with them for 2 years. And then, I don't know. I would try to get Strome on a reasonable deal. I am a Strome fan, stan, whatever you want to call it. I think he plays well at Panarin because he's a center that doesn't have to be puck dominant and can finish if he has to. But that being said, you also need the center depth. So that'll be very interesting to see where they go there. As also with this is you have guys, I guess, that are question marks. You have guys because you are going to lose somebody to the expansion draft. So is Jesper Fast somebody you want to come back, or somebody you think that might be expendable? I'm interested, I guess, Bruce, to see what you have to say, because I like the guy. I think he should come back, especially because he's going to be reasonable. I can't see how he's going to want to demand a big contract.
No, I think the only problem is every year in free agency, you see the stupid contracts that get given out. You have like these guys, like these second, third line guys, where it's some team will throw 5-6 years at 6 years, $36 million at a guy who probably doesn't get it. But teams on normally July 1st, whatever it is this year, but on that first day of free agency, these teams that think they're going to compete want to get these guys. And then you look at, 3 years down the road, the contract looks like an albatross for what they get. Not saying that's going to happen with some of these guys, but I think that's the concern that you have. Again, you have the advantage of these guys being RFAs, so you have more control. You're not just going to lose them. And again, it's the NHL. If there's one weird honor system thing, it's that teams very rarely offer sheet guys on other teams. I feel like with all the talk of the baseball unwritten rules, if there's one thing that hockey has, teams don't usually mess with that.
Oh yeah, the teams. Everybody killed Montreal for doing it with Aho.
Right.
I mean, it makes sense. It's in.
It makes sense to do it. I'd offer sheet Matt Barzal just for the fuck of it, because why not? But that's an unrealistic thing. But it's just teams generally don't do it. So I think you at least have your control. So I think it'll come down to let it come down to arbitration, man. Because listen, it's a business. You're in a big cap crunch. You're in a year where the money's not there. You got to get creative. And if bringing guys to arbitration is a way to be creative and get them on shorter, cheaper deals, do it. Because then you're going to have more flexibility, at least after next season, because you're losing Stahl, Lundqvist, and Smith. So
I don't see Foss being the type of guy where it's going to be that.
Not Foss, but maybe it's you'd hate to let a guy like.
I don't think you can. You can't bring a UFA. Yeah, you can't bring a UFA.
You
to
can't
No,
bring
not
a
UFA.
UFA
I'm more
arbitration.
Strom and
for
D'Angelo.
Fost,
But
yeah.
for Fost, it's kind of one of those, like, I like him as a player, but it's one of those where if he's a casualty of all this,
Right.
he
I
might
don't
have to
think.
be.
Yeah, I don't think you're super upset. Let me just ask quickly. Do you guys want to do another one, or do you want to just try to wrap it up soon?
Yeah, let's do a part 3.
All right, because I have some more stuff I want to do. Just for you, then, same thing with you, Al. Is Foss somebody you need to have back, or somebody you're just like, whatever? You know what I mean?
I mean, it'd be nice to have him. I like him as a player. I just think that I'm trying to think of it out of his perspective. You know, guy's 28 years old. If I'm him, I'm taking whatever money that someone's going to give me. So whether that be an extra million, you know, I think some team will offer more than what we offer just because there's other teams that have more flexibility than we do. So, you know, from a Rangers standpoint, yes, I'd give him a solid offer. I'd like to see him back. Obviously, it's not going to be much long term because he's already 28.
But
But
like, players again.
I know,
players
yeah,
player again.
Just to kind of
if
like,
I'm
I
him,
know,
I'm
I know
taking
someone
Bates.
like Jesper Fa. Like, he's a winger. I know he's not like top end, but how much money do you want to pay for a guy whose career high in points is 33, and that was 3 seasons ago?
There's also
I know there's other things he does, but it's one of those, like, how much money you want to invest, and the guy's already making just a shade under $2 million.
Right.
And
there's we could talk about this in the next part of this episode, but if we're bringing Loff over, playing on the left, so you got Kreider, Panarin, Loff, and then if you get the right side, you have Capo, Kakko, Booch, and then Kravtsov. If we were talking about him coming over, then there's, you know, Foss as a 4th liner. Then, you know, I don't.
Which is what I think you would want him ideally to be.
I don't think we have the money to.
Yeah.
Correct.
You know, there's other guys. I like guys like Gauthier, and, you know, that could play.
All right, let's leave that there. Let's end this here. I mean, I'll just quickly say I'd like to see Foss back. If he signs for the same thing he has, so be it. But I think Lemieux is pretty important to bring back because I think you need guys like that. You need a pest. You need a guy who can throw the fist if he needs to. I think Foss is somebody I want back. I think he's loved in that locker room. Obviously, he keeps getting voted player's player, and he is an alternate captain as well. And I mean, he does everything very well. He's literally, he could play on the first line, he could play on the 4th line, and I think that's invaluable. I really do. But all right, let's end this here. I'm gonna do the outro instead of Bruce this time. I mean, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for enjoying us pronounce Alexis Lafreniere's name a million different ways. None of them were probably correct, and we apologize because I don't have enough in my voice. Click on the video below because we're doing a part 3 because Zoom is just not cooperating with us tonight. And
we used up all our.
Give us 3 unlimited minutes.
Yeah,
whoa, what is this?
I was up late talking to my ma.
It's after 9 p.m. It's free.
The old cell phone.
Click the next video below, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye for now.